Welcome to Bourbon and Badges, the podcast, live in Studio 77 from Gastonia, North Carolina, and Calabash, the voice of the uncommon people.
Hey, welcome to Bourbon and Badges, a special episode. If you're looking at us on YouTube, you can see there's an unfamiliar face. A good friend of mine named Drew is accompanying us tonight. Hound Dog and Rod Knitter both are off tonight for this podcast. They're out living the dream. And Drew's going to fill in for him, and he's got such a big personality, he can take care of both those slots, no problem. Drew, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing absolutely awesome. How you doing, Slow, tonight?
Man, everything is good. Appreciate you joining us, and it's a very special reason why we got you now, releasing you this week, is because you are involved in a nonprofit organization that does great things for kids. Can you tell us a little bit of background about that?
Absolutely. So the organization that I'm involved in is an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It's an international nonprofit that was started up in 2012. And what we do is we build handcrafted beds and deliver beds to kids all across the United States and Canada and Bermuda and the Bahamas for kids that are sleeping in less than ideal conditions. You know, they might be sleeping on the floor, might be co-sleeping with a parent or a sibling, might be sleeping on broken couches or stuff, but it's a, opportunity to help get kids up off the floor and into their own beds, because as we know, for kids, sleep is critical for their health and their mental development and schooling, and there's so many positive benefits of a kid having their own real estate in a bed to be able to sleep in. And that's what I am. I'm the chapter co-president of the New York Auburn chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I'm glad to be here tonight. And thank you so much for inviting me on here, Slow.
Man, we're glad to have you. Now, as if your accent didn't give it away, but you are up there in Auburn, New York.
Yes, I am a Northern Yankee. Absolutely.
well, Drew, you're one of those good ones. You're one of those Yankees that stayed up north. You know what you call the Yankee moves down here. That's a damn Yankee. well, brother, first things first, man. This is, of course, an adult show, so the kids aren't listening to us, but there are going to be people listening to us that can help you out and help your organization out, and we're going to push for that tonight. But first, what are you drinking?
All right. So tonight's sampling selection is from a natural local distillery. Great shout out to the Myers Farm family for Maple Lake Bourbon. It's a maple infused bourbon tonight that I've got. And what about you, Slow?
Well, we always have our pre-podcast meeting, so we got together on that. I am drinking a maple-based bourbon or whiskey as well. Snob Creek Smoked Maple, which is excellent, 90 proof. You get that real good bourbon flavor up front and the smoked maple on the back end. So let's give you things example. Let's give them a nose what you think. Now, you got yours on ice, correct?
Yeah, usually, because I've always liked mine cold instead of room temperature. For me, it helps enhance the flavors a little bit and bring some of the nose out as well too when it's a little bit colder than room temperature. But everybody's different, and that's okay.
Oh yes, sir. We always say the best thing to drink is what you're drinking at the time you're drinking it. and also, what proof is yours?
167.
167.
Like 33.5%. Yeah.
Oh, 33.5%. All right. So you're looking about right, 70 proof.
Yeah.
So 33% alcohol.
In there. Yeah.
Well, but what they say is the best flavor profile for a bourbon or a whiskey is around 60 proof. So when you do throw some ice in, it melts down a little bit. It's going to push a bouquet of flavor, if that makes any sense. It's going to enhance that. Now, I like about a 90 proof burn, and that's what this here is as well. Knob Creek done this infusion and kept it at 90 proof. Generally, it pushes it down to about 70 proof, but they were able to keep it at 90 proof. If they had me in mind or not, I don't know, but I certainly appreciate what they did.
Yeah.
Now, nosing these things, of course, you get a little bit of smoked maple on the end of this, but you get that good woody, leathery on the nose, vanilla.
Yeah, I definitely get that on my end as well too.
Now, is that a local?
Go ahead.
You
also start picking up the hints of the maple as well too.
Yeah, I can barely get the maple on the nose. Now, is that a local distiller for you?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's get the thing it tastes so it's like. That's my go-to drink. I like this after a big meal. Get a good big meal. It's almost like a dessert drink.
Yes. Yep. I can see that. For me, this is kind of like one of those standby drinks, where it's like you're not exactly sure what you want to drink, but you need a drink type of a
Yeah.
thing. Or you got a couple of buddies that show up at the house unexpected, like hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're more than welcome to come up to New York anytime you want to. So,
man, I need to. Sure enough, Renegade Pigs. We got tons of chapters up there, and I can visit you and visit my Renegade Pig brothers as well.
yeah.
And just for any newcomers, Renegade Pigs is a motorcycle club for law enforcement, prison guards, and firefighters. Yeah, it's a good deal. Well, I appreciate the invitation. I am definitely going to take you up on it. All right, man. So let's get into the meat of this thing. What got you involved in this organization?
So, a good friend of mine by the name of John Wright, who I've worked with known John for close to 30 years now, since we've worked in community theater together, actually got involved in starting the Syracuse, New York chapter. And my story actually starts at a winery. My wife, Stephanie, and I, and a couple of friends were, as we always usually do on a holiday weekend, going around the wineries in Seneca Lake, Cayuga Lake, because we live in the Finger Lakes area of New York, which is renowned for the wine. And my buddy John Wright and his wife Libby were there at the same winery at the same time. So we got reintroduced again to each other because we hadn't seen each other in good 15, 20 years or so. And John, knowing my background, me being not only an English teacher, but I've also been involved with the trades because I used to teach technical theater as well, knew that this was kind of a good fit for me because I can do the trade skills as well, and also do the English part of it, be able to teach people the simple processes that are involved in a build, where each of the stations that we have set up in a build is just one or two simple steps. There's no experience needed. We have all the tools in a build. And John thought that I'd be a perfect fit for the organization. And he invited me out on a delivery. I went on a delivery with him, and the rest was kind of history from there. And so that's kind of how I got involved, working with the Syracuse chapter and got trained up and through the Syracuse chapter. So probably about September of 2019, October of 2019, we realized that out of every 10 or 12 deliveries that we're doing for kids in the Syracuse area, we're doing one or two in Auburn, New York. And I thought, I live in Auburn. It's kind of silly to do this, pulling resources from Syracuse. Yeah, pulling resources from Syracuse over to Auburn. Why don't I start a chapter? So I went out, got trained up as a chapter president out in Twin Falls, Idaho, and started the New York Auburn chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace.
Well, I tell you, Drew,
January 2020.
I think what you're doing is you're telling Hound Dog, Rodney, and myself you might be two things for the show. One, too smart for the show, and two, nice of a guy, because we're not very nice people on this show, and we're not very smart. So, well, good deal, man. That is excellent. So, how long did it take you to get trained up on this?
Oh, the way that the training process is set up, it's actually about a 2-day process. You get a fire hose of a lot of information, but there's processes, again, in place that help teach the things that you need to know, all the paperwork on the back end, kind of like putting a core team together. And one of the nice things about the organization is that they've actually, one of the other things I do is I'm on the national IT team. So I actually just got back from our new training facility out in Salt Lake City this past weekend, where we actually trained up another 15 chapters
road trip
for the organization. So yeah, slight road trip.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Coming up on October, I think the first weekend in October, Friday and Saturday. Not exactly sure on the dates off the top of my head, but I do have my Rocket Book with me, so I can look that up pretty quickly. We're going to be out in Charlotte, North Carolina, actually, at the SHP 10-year family reunion, where we're getting a whole bunch of people and chapters together and going to have a larger training setup and stuff on Friday, October 6th through Sunday, October 8th, this upcoming year as well, too. So,
Well, that's pretty cool. So I guess your job that you're involved in, they're pretty lenient in letting you be off of these things.
my day job, yes. Yeah, very fortunate to be working my day job that they really truly believe in helping others in the community, and they feel very strongly about what I'm doing and very proud of the fact that I'm actually leading this nonprofit in Auburn, New York, in order to be able to give back to the community the way that we do.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, like any good host does, I looked your website up and everything and read through it and stuff. And two things really stand out that I really liked. One is one of your quotes on there. It says, "No kids sleep on the floor in our town." Another one
Yes.
is national organization answering the call for a national problem. I thought both those were two key sentences in your in the site.
Yeah. Well, no kid sleeps on the floor in our towns actually our mission statement as well too, because everybody's town, this is a national problem, where, growing up in a farm community of Lafayette, New York, we didn't really think that much about, in the 70s, the 80s, even into the 90s about sleep because we just didn't know any better. Where it's like, the bigger farm families, the girls were in one bedroom sleeping on top of each other, boys were in another bedroom, parents were in bedroom number three. And, nobody really talked about what the benefits are of sleep. And it wasn't until fairly recently that it started becoming more of a national problem. And it's such a simple solution, too.
Well, the simple solution is because you guys are out there doing this, taking your own time, and working, I guess, off of donations, things of that nature to make these things happen. I tell you, and I can speak on behalf of Rod Netter and Hound Dog as well. All three of us retired cops. Man, countless times we go into domestics, we go into all these different calls, we assist DSS and they get on their calls. It's unbelievable the amount of kids that actually do sleep on the floor. They sleep in a corner.
Yeah.
They sleep. There's one kid come to mind. We're down in one part of the town. The kid actually slept with a dog on the floor. No bed.
Yeah.
No bed at all. Now, mom had a mattress on the floor, but the kid, no bed whatsoever. So these things really ring home to us, man. We appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast to push this out. I'll tell you something else cool that, we're here in North Carolina, and your acronym is SHP. Well, that's State Highway Patrol down here.
Well, for us, it's sleep in heavenly peace. But yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, SHP that's our state traffic guys. Well, good deal, man. So, do you have any chapters here in North Carolina?
Yeah, we've got 10 chapters actually in North Carolina, and a big shout out to the North Carolina Belmont, Fuquay Varnia, Greenville, Indian Trail, Rocky Mount, South Iredell County, Sand Hills, Williamston, Wilmington, and North Carolina Wilson chapters. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have some chapters across the state.
Oh, well, good deal. You said Belmont. Is that the town of Belmont, or?
It's just North Carolina Belmont. I don't know if it's the county or the town, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The reason I ask is in Gaston County, where I'm from, and Rodnetter's still there. Belmont is a small town that's adjacent to our city. And I'm wondering, I'm going to have to reach out and see if that's the same thing, man. That's pretty cool because it's right there in my backyard this whole time. Never knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me you.
Well, if anybody's interested in helping out or volunteering, we've got, just head on over to our national website at sleepinheavenlypeace.org. And right on there, right on the front, there's Find My Chapter, and you can hit the drop down there in order to find your state, and then they'll bring up all the different chapters that are out there in your state. Right now, I think we've got 2 states that we're not in as yet, and that's New Jersey and Delaware. So if anybody is out here listening or is part of the greater world here that's interested in helping us get a chapter going in New Jersey or Delaware, feel free to reach out and we'll get the process started with you.
So there are no roadblocks in those states. They're just not chapters. Is that right?
Just not a chapter. Yeah. We haven't found the right people yet in order that are willing to step up and volunteer, but we will.
Well, I tell you, Drew, until meeting you, I never knew this existed, and I'm sure it's a lot on a grander scale. People just don't know you're out there.
No,
but man, let me tell you, you're
don't.
going places now, buddy. You're on Bourbon and Badges, man. You're going places now. Your phone's not going to stop ringing.
Sure. Yeah, well, the first big bump that we got actually was the whole entire organization was actually started in 2012 by a guy by the name of Luke Mickelson as a Christmas project. Luke was a youth youth group leader in his local church, and they found out that there was a family that had a kiddo that wasn't sleeping on the floor. Well, was sleeping on the floor. So Luke had some extra lumber in his garage. He found some plans on the YouTubes and built the first bed. And his buddy Jordan Allen came over from Boise in order to help him deliver that first bed. And from there, when Jordan and Luke got done with that delivery, they said, well, man, we got to see what we can do here. So Luke had some more lumber. They threw another bed up onto Facebook, thinking it's like, who's really going to need a bed? And probably had about 15 hits for that bed within the first hour for
really?
that second bed. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it kind of grew in 2012, 2013, 2014 into probably about 10 or 12 chapters up in the Pacific Northwest. Not a lot of traction, it was just grassroots organization and stuff, but, word of mouth. And then there's this fellow by name in 2018 that got things really kicking off. A guy by the name of Mike Rowe, like the Mike Rowe.
Oh, cool.
Dirty
I'm pretty sure he
Job
listens to this
Mike Rowe.
podcast, by the way. So,
Yes.
I listen to his, so it's only fair he listens to ours.
Yeah. So Mike did returning the favor. It's still out there on Facebook as well too. If you guys are interested, it's a 22-minute video production about our organization, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. You can find some links in the video section on our webpage as well too. Mike did an exposition on it, and that's where the Syracuse chapter found it in May of 2018 and got started in May of 2018.
And I tell you, and Mike Rowe gets involved in something. He handpicks these things. He don't just, willy-dilly or some director say, we got something lined up for you. He actually goes out and handpicks these things that he does. So you had to really believe in what you do to get out there and give you that support.
Yeah.
And he also has his own liquor label, whiskey label.
Yes, he does.
Particular bourbon, I think. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Come to me here in a second. Yeah, but well, that's cool. So what else is going on? Is now, what is your schedule like? So you say your day job. So I'm assuming, are you a Monday through Friday type guy?
I am a Monday through Friday type of guy. I've got banker's hours. I get an hour for lunch during the day. So my day job, I'm actually in laboratory support services for a local medical records company that's a third generation owned family operation that's based right in Auburn, New York, and it's called MedEn. And that actually is been there since probably January of 2004. And the family's been really great in allowing me to do all the Sleep in Heavenly Peace stuff. For what we do for the chapter itself, as far as the admin side of it, I'm only spending probably about 20 hours a week on it. So it's kind of like a
above and beyond your job, only 20 hours a week above and beyond your job.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're all volunteers because that's how we operate. All the chapters across the country are all run by volunteers, and we work within the community in order to build like these relationships so we can get donors and donations and volunteers in order to be able to do like build days during every once in a while, based on schedules, or, if an organization decided that they wanted to come in and host a build day, they're more than welcome to do as well too. And we've been really, really lucky as well too. I have to give a shout out to another North Carolina based business as well too. And that's the Lowe's Family Foundation that are located there in North Carolina. They have been fantastic since day one
So that's
and
Lowe's, your
behind us
local lumber guy,
100%.
Lowe's, right? The local
Yeah,
lumber guys, Lowe's. All right, cool.
yeah,
I did not know they was based in North Carolina.
yeah, yeah, they're right there.
Well, good deal, man. Yeah, and knowing that, let me say had, always been a Home Depot type guy. Was just close to the house. I knew everything was. I always went there until I found out that they supported you guys, and I have now, ever since then, been a Lowe's guy. I no longer go to Home Depot. I go to Lowe's. Give them my support because they give you guys their support. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. So,
now, if somebody wants, it's a good segue. If somebody wants to donate money to the cause, how would they do that?
sure, absolutely. There's a couple of different ways. One is most of your chapters out there that are out on our webpage at shpbeds.org, find my chapter. You're going to have a donation link right on the chapter page there. For us in New York, Auburn, our local mailing address is going to be here in Auburn, in town. And if you've had some questions about where those can go, you can reach out to our chapter email address at ny-auburn@shpbeds.org as well too. But again, like I
Give us that
said,
one more time.
ny-auburn@shpbeds.org.
Cool. All right, good deal. How's your drink
That's our
coming?
local one. Well, drink's still there.
I ain't seen you pick it up yet, man. What's this, a drinking show? You got to drink a little bit, Drew. So I need to get you getting
I'm
drunk
drinking.
and get some of these other answers out of you.
Yeah, good luck with that, Sloan. You know I'm a sleepy drunk.
All right, man. So now you guys have something very special coming up this coming week. That's why we're airing this week, is to be like a lead in, hopefully, to help you guys get a little bit of help or a little bit of donations toward your project you have coming up on, September the 9th?
September the 9th, yeah. So September the 9th is every single year on the second Saturday in September, we have what's known as Bunks Across America. What that is all of our chapters try to participate in a build day that day across the country in order to raise awareness of not only kids being, sleeping in less than ideal conditions, but also to know that, we have a national presence that's out there in your local communities, that we're making a difference and an impact in being able to help get these kids up off the floor. Nationally, from our direct observations, we're estimating that in any given community population, that there's probably, on a conservative estimate side, 2 to 3% of the population are kids that are sleeping in less than ideal conditions. So with COVID, we're probably expecting that to be closer to like 5 to 6%, coming out of COVID with lifting of all the lockdowns for evictions. And we've started seeing some families that have been shuffling around from being homeless, getting into some more, permanent housing as well too, because they got evicted from their old place. And those numbers are starting to creep up a little bit as well too. So right here locally in Auburn, we actually just today delivered bed number 600 as a chapter since our chapter inception.
Oh wow, 600 beds, and these are beds that you've built.
Yeah, we've built, and when we go out and we build them, not only do we have an internal process that we build their wood beds, solid wooden beds, that the kids not only get the frame, but we also deliver the slats that a mattress goes on. It's a brand new mattress, and we also provide locally donated bedding as well too. So far as a chapter here in New York, Auburn, we have not had to spend a dime on bedding, because the community has been so gracious to us in order to be able to just bring in pillows, blankets, comforters,
Oh wow.
sheet sets and stuff. So when we go out and deliver, we also dress the bed as well too with the linens and the bedding, so that the kids can actually just go to sleep that night in a brand new setup bed. And we can do either a twin size bed or we can also deliver a bunk setup as well, depending upon what the family needs. So, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Do you get a lot of positive feedback from the family? I'm sure you do.
Oh, absolutely. Like just this past Thursday, one of our delivery teams were out. We actually fielded 3 delivery teams last Thursday. One of them was for a family that was absolutely homeless because they got evicted after the COVID moratoriums lifted on evictions here in New York that was in place for 3 years. No fault of their own. The landlord was just, trying to jack the rent up and stuff, like about, 50, 75%, felt that the market's getting a little tighter. He could rent to somebody else and kick this family, mom and 3 kids out. So they were like at the rescue mission for 3 months this past summer, and they finally got into another place. We came in and delivered the beds, and once we got the beds delivered, and the kids were settled and stuff, mom just completely broke down crying and hugged our delivery team for a good like 10 or 15 minutes, just sobbing uncontrollably, realizing that there are people out there that do care, and we're trying to do a little bit of good in the world, and it's one last thing that she has to worry about is, that those kids now have a space that they can call their own and go to sleep in, and she doesn't have to worry about the kids, not sleeping at night either. So,
Yeah, it's
and that
pretty
also
cool.
helps,
That's cool.
yeah. And also when kids sleep well, you're also cutting down on behavioral issues, and the kids are going to be healthier as well too because
Yeah,
they're able to rest up.
yeah, you give them a little self worth as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's the age? What is the age group of someone that would want a bed? What would the age group be?
Okay, so if anybody needs a bed that's out there that knows of a kid that's sleeping in less than ideal conditions, our age range is actually any kid that's aged 3 to 17. And the process starts by going out to our national website at shpbeds.org. There's an apply for a bed button right there on the front page. You just click apply. We don't ask anything about income requirements. It's a very short application. We just need to know the delivery address. We just need to know the ages and the genders of the kids. We don't necessarily need to know names because we try to pull age appropriate bedding as well too for the kids. And then the application gets routed based on the delivery address to if there's a chapter available in your area, that chapter would get that application. Again, if you're trying to get a bed in New Jersey, I apologize in advance, but at the moment we don't have a chapter, so you get a bounce back saying it's like no chapters available at this time. Please try again in a few weeks. That actually happened to us in New York Auburn about a month ago. Unbeknownst to us, it's like our Auburn zip code was actually in twice nationally, and they did a utility at the national level in order to pull duplicate zip codes. Whoops. Our 13021. So our chapter was shut down for about 2 weeks that we couldn't get applications in. And people are calling me. It's like, Drew, what's going on? I'm like, oh, and I looked into it. I'm like, oh, all right, we need to put 13021 back in because we are open. We are accepting applications. Everything's all good at this point. So, yeah.
Just a little glitch. Now, what was the other state,
Yeah.
New Jersey, and what that doesn't have a chapter?
Delaware.
All right.
So
good
if
deal.
anybody's in New Jersey or Delaware listening to this, and it's like you're interested in learning more, reach out. nyauburn at shpbeds.org.
Sounds like a plan, man. Anything else you want to add about that?
Um,
Anything else? Now, the September 9th, how many beds you normally do on this particular weekend? Did you already answer that, or did you answer that just on the national level?
So on any given weekend, our New York Auburn chapter could do anywhere from like probably, 5, 7, 10, just depends upon, how busy and how many volunteers that we have available for deliveries. Each chapter is going to be different. Each chapter does things a little differently, and that's okay. Like, for example, our San Antonio, Texas chapter, what they tend to do is they tend to do deliveries about once a month where they get a whole bunch of people with pickup trucks and volunteers to come in, and they might do like 75 to 100 beds in one day with about
Good grief.
20 different delivery teams. So just depends on the chapter. Our Syracuse chapter, they only deliver on Saturday mornings. They have a crew of probably, I'd say, dedicated volunteers with probably somewhere between 20 and 30 volunteers that they split up into like 7 or 9 delivery teams, and they go out and they're delivering on average somewhere between 20 and 25 beds on a weekend, and just chugging along. So, yeah.
Now, do you always see your same volunteers, or does they replenish themselves, or how's that work?
As far as volunteers, yeah, we can always use volunteers. The way to go, like out to the national website and find a chapter, and then underneath the different chapters that are out there, you can actually, there's a link there to be able to volunteer as well too. So yeah, and we've got volunteers that come into the shop that we've had in. We do ask, for some of the younger kids for direct parent involvement, but I've actually had an 8-year-old out with me on delivery as well too, because he could be a delivery team lead in teaching others, because he knows the process down pat
That's pretty cool.
as far as how a bed goes together. Yeah.
Now, I've seen your shop, not in person. I've just seen how it works and watched a video about the whole thing. Man, it's very well organized. You guys have got your stuff together. And this is not some, little handyman saw and a hammer. You guys got some top-notch equipment and top-notch people running these things. It's really something to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you something too, Slow. We're actually, I have a serious black and yellow addiction when it comes to DeWalt tools, because right now, Sleep in Heavenly Peace nationally is actually the largest private owner of DeWalt tools around the world. Yes. Yeah.
Now, do they donate some of that stuff to you? You guys all out of pocket from them?
It depends. Again, every chapter is a little different. You might wind up with a chapter like, you get somebody that's there locally in the community that believes in the mission that says, hey, here's X number of dollars, go buy some tools, in which case we do. Here in the New York Auburn chapter, what I did was going back to the Lowe's National Foundation, what they did is this past year, they've actually donated $3 million for the next 2 years to Sleep in Heavenly Peace nationally.
Oh, wow.
And each chapter across the country is able to go and apply for a small little part of that pie. So what I did back in 2020, when we're just getting up and running, it's like I applied for those funds. I got like $4,000 and 2 gift cards. I went up to my local Lowe's and said, hey, can I trade these 2 like $1,000 gift cards in for like some DeWalt tools? And wound up getting my whole tool equipment set up for what we needed before we even had a shop. So it was awesome. Yeah.
So what does it cost you guys per bed? If you count the beds, linen, everything, what you normally out of the pocket of it?
Yeah. And also you got to remember that there's overhead involved too, because you have to pay for insurance. There's some utilities involved, electric, there's water. So each bed itself, in order to put together a bed, and that includes like the linens, and mattress, and the lumber, it's $250 per bed. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So donations are definitely needed. That'll help out a lot.
Absolutely.
And if you like good old Slow over here, you don't have a lot of money, but you got a lot of time, just donate your time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got people that, one of my delivery team leads actually just today went over to Kohl's. There was a big sale on Kohl's, and she wound up getting like 30 pillows for our chapter, and just like, here, Drew, have some more pillows. I'm like going, yay, pillows.
Hey, now, when you do that, then you go in there and say, hey, I'm getting these 30 pillows and them for Sleeping Heavenly Peace. Do you find that some of the companies or the stores will give you a little bit better deal on or break on them?
Some do, yeah. And I have to mention that we've got a couple of different partnerships with a few different mattress companies as well, too. For instance, Lucid and Matuf, which is kind of like the mattresses that you might find at Walmart or out on Amazon. We're also working with Ashley Home Furniture Stores. We're also working with Corsatina mattresses. And we're also working with a little independently family-owned mattress company, Indiana, called Wolf Mattress. All 4 of those nationally have very graciously given Sleep in Heavenly Peace mattresses at what their cost is to manufacture them. They're not making a dime in labor on any of the mattresses. And the markup on mattresses is absolutely insane, because retail, you're looking at, like maybe a twin mattress when you walk into Walmart here in the area might be like $90 for the type of mattress that we use. It's like 6 inches tall, inner spring, rolled in the box. And it is a significant discount that these companies have given to us through our work in collaboration with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which we're very, very grateful for and very thankful for. So that
Yeah,
allows us to take our donor dollars and actually stretch those dollars in order to help get more kids up off the floor in our town.
that is pretty cool, man. That is really cool. Now I'm referring back to my notes. Now you got some type of award. You are in your chapter. So tell us about that.
Yes. Yeah. So our New York chapter, New York Auburn chapter, was actually back in May of 2023. We were awarded the Nonprofit of the Year by the Cayuga County Chamber of Commerce. It's a local chamber. They recognized our work that we were doing in the community as a nonprofit, and we wound up with a Nonprofit of the Year. Yours truly actually had to get up on stage and give like a
Oh,
small
that is
little,
too
like
cool,
5 to
man.
7 minute speech. Yeah. So,
That is too cool. Well, well
yeah,
deserved, my friend. Well deserved because you donate a
thank
lot
you.
of your time, and man, I tell you, it's got to be taxing sometimes. It's got to be.
It can be, but one of the things I'm very fortunate about is that I'm very grateful that I'm in a place that I can actually give back, and that's kind of how I get that energy back. Because it's just amazing when you go into a home and all of a sudden it's like you got, like just yesterday morning we had a delivery where it's like for a 3-year-old toddler and his 8-year-old sister, and they wanted, like, the 3-year-old when we got done was like wanted me to pick him up and like wanted to give me a hug and then wanted me to take him outside in order to give the whole rest of the delivery team a hug as well too.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, oh
I'm sure.
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah,
Well received. As if you ever had an issue where you weren't, like, say somebody else. Let me try to say this, but it makes sense. Where, like, say I recommended that my buddy Joe, kids get beds, and I do the application. Do you go through the application to make sure that's the parent or whatever that's doing these applications, or?
yeah. So about 70% of our applications are actually self referrals from the family itself. 30% we also work with different agencies as well too. Like we're working with sometimes Cayuga County Department of Family Social Services. You got caseworkers going into homes as you had mentioned earlier. Where you got kids that are kind of like in a situation that isn't exactly the safest for those kids, that we can make it a little bit better. I've worked with New York State Department of Family and Social Services as well too. And we've got a couple of different like nonprofits as well, like Community Action Program refers a lot to us. We're getting a lot of referrals from Cayuga Counseling, and we're also getting a lot of referrals also from Unity House as well too. So yeah, there's a lot of different agencies, a lot of different partnerships that are in play in a community in order to make sure it's not just us as far as Sleep in Heavenly Peace,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that have boots and eyes on the ground because we can't see it all. And, we're trying to reach as many people as we can in order to help get kids up off the floor.
So generally speaking, when you go out to make a delivery, the heads up, they know you're coming and you're well received.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
good deal.
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we
Well,
usually call and vet, like we'll set up a delivery about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, and then usually we send out a reminder email or text, or we send over a phone call to the family, usually a couple of nights before, just to check in, see if there's any questions, comments, concerns, see how they're doing, and remind them, we need the space cleared for the bed, you know, and then just, remind them it's like, okay, we're going to be here, maybe on a Thursday night, somewhere between like 6 and 6:15, uh, where, so they're absolutely expecting us, and we don't get a lot of no shows that show up either, so that's a good thing
oh yeah,
too.
well, good
So
deal. Yeah, that's my point. I could see, and I hate to to be toxic, being a retired cop. But you see a lot of times you have the displaced dads or the male figure or whatever. You show up and they're like, "What the hell you doing here?" I can take care of my own kids. I could see that happening. But you guys have things in place to keep that from happening.
Yeah, we usually have an open line of communication with the family, and generally speaking, probably about a good 80 to 90% of our deliveries up here in our community are to single moms too. So dad might not necessarily be there, or else it might be, it's like a different boyfriend than like maybe the biological dad is, out of the picture for whatever reason for the kids, or it's a blended family. So a lot of it goes into in a lot of our applications, we're usually talking to women and females that are the head of the household that are having some problems and
Yeah.
need beds as well too. Like one of my more memorable ones was couple of years ago, we were working with a grandmother actually that we're seeing a lot of this as well too, where the grandparents are taking the kids because the parents are running into issues with like overdosing, drugs, having some problems. In this particular case with the grandmother, she wound up having to take in like 7 kids and then 3 of her grandkids as well. So she wound up with 10 of them because there were
Good
like
grief.
4 sets of parents that actually overdosed on opioids, and died. So yeah,
Man, that is crazy. Yeah, well, so you're
yeah,
seeing on the back end at least the things that we always dealt with as a cops. And let me tell you, Drew, you're
yeah,
very well spoken, man. Because a lot of times, I didn't know how you were going to actually say all that. Because normally we just grind it down. Well, the mom and dad's is a piece of SO,
yeah.
So, but now we're keeping it classy for this, man. You're nice enough to come here on the show, so we'll keep it classy and keep it all nice and clean for you. All right, man. So, what is your average build time? If you start from from scratch to the bed's built and ready to go out the door.
So it really depends upon the number of volunteers that we get in a build day. One of the biggest things that we find is to be efficient in the process. We usually ask for about 2 people per bed that we want to build. So let's say we went through and did a 10-bed build. We have about 20 volunteers in the shop stationed throughout, from sanding all the way down through to like drill press to finishing. Our finish is actually just steel wool and vinegar. That just blows people's mind that, we're just basically creating rust and then dunking the wood in liquid rust in order to finish the beds off.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And every single one of our beds is actually also branded with our SHP logo. So like Mike
Now,
Rose says, who doesn't love branding a bed?
now is that the insignia on your jacket there?
Yeah.
Or are you doing some
Yep.
subliminal messaging on us there, Drew? Is what you're doing?
Ooh, yeah. Some. But so getting back to the build process, so like we had a group of Boy Scouts that did an Eagle Service project with us back in June of 2021 or so. We had 47 volunteers. We were able to knock out 43 beds built in about 4 hours.
Oh, that's cool.
That's kind of like where we're just kind of pushing things along. But, on average, we can do probably about somewhere between 10 and 20 beds based on the number of volunteers in about a 4-hour time frame. So,
Well, that's pretty cool. Yours truly here, Eagle Scout, Troop 33, 1975. I'm aging myself. I'm dating myself.
that's
Eagle
awesome,
Scout.
Slow.
Yeah, Troop 33. I tell you, forever I thought it was 1974, and I started looking things up. I can't remember why. I was doing the move from Gastonia up here to Shootout Mountain, and I come across the paperwork. It's 1975. I can't remember when I got my Eagle. I was close at 74. All right, Drew. I tell you, at what point do you give it up? Do you say I've had enough? I'm walking away from it. You ever thought about that, or are you going to be around for a long time?
Well, we do have some succession plans in place for the chapter as well, too. So, game plan at the moment might be 3 to 5 years or so. Me working. But the plan is, if we wind up with like a travel camper, I can go around the country and help volunteer at different like sleeping heavenly pieces and stop by,
Yeah.
with the van going. It's like, hey, I'm here. Let's build some beds, kids.
Well, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
but yeah,
The
I'm
ultimate
probably
road
gonna
trip.
yeah, I'm probably going to be involved with the organization in some sense or form or other, and maybe not leadership of the chapter in New York Auburn forever, but definitely, this is something that's very close to my heart as well too, because I am one of those kids that did grow up and sleeping in less than ideal conditions. So yeah,
Well, I tell you, you can tell you're very passionate about it. Almost as passionate we are about our bourbon. So that's
yeah,
saying a lot, Drew. Saying a lot.
yeah, it does.
All right, man. Let me look at my notes here. Make sure I'm not. I keep doing that. I try to prevent myself from doing that. All right, in closing, man, you don't give a shout out to all your backers again, Lowe's, these mattress people. Let's give them a
Yeah,
a shout
absolutely.
out.
Want to give a big, huge shout out to, Lowe's, Lowe's Family Foundation. Those guys have been with us since day one. Mike Rowe, if you ever get on to here and actually listen to this podcast, please, by all means, say hi at some point or another. Slow could use one of your bottles of bourbon as well too,
Tell them,
in
man,
order to
push
like
it, brother,
try.
push it.
Yeah. So, we want to also give a shout out to our, mattress sponsors, Ashley Home Furniture, Martuf Lucid. We want to give a shout out to Corsatina as well too, and Wolf Mattresses. And any of those chapters, that are out there in North Carolina, or New York chapters here in New York, New York Buffalo, Rochester, Austin Auburn, our Syracuse group, our Utica group, and also our Mechanicville and Rye chapters as well too in New York. So if you guys are interested in helping out and volunteering on September 9th for Bunks Across America, reach out to your local chapter. Let them know that you're interested. We'd love to have you. And again, there's no experience needed. All the tools are provided, and like I keep telling my team, it's like we're not IKEA. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just try your best, as far as, sanding and stuff. We just want somebody that's a willingness to help us out, and get kids beds in order to get them up off the floor and into their own space. So, yeah.
Hey, good deal. On top of that, I would like to challenge my Renegade Pig brothers. We got most of our chapters up north. Brothers, I challenge you guys, go out there and help out with Sleeping Heavenly Peace if you get a chance. If nothing else for a day, man. Come on, just take a bike ride up there and help build some beds or help deliver some beds, man. And I'm sure you wouldn't mind them wearing their colors, would you? Just showing that they're Renegade Pigs.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all. By
so
all
all
means.
police, firefighters, and correction workers, all good people, and all got to be in good standing too. So, guys, I challenge you to do that. Drew, I appreciate you being on the show, man. So, what do you think about your drink? Evidently, we're drinking our drinks of choice tonight, so I guess it is a daily drinker.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, mine is definitely a daily drinker because, again, this is one of my go-tos, in case somebody comes over to the house, want to open up some bourbon and stuff. That's you got one of the things I've noticed with a lot of the whiskeys and bourbons and stuff, if you add in a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple, it actually gets rid of that, that roughness as it's going down the throat. And with me getting older, I'm telling you, slow, that acid reflux isn't exactly the best thing to happen when, you're trying
well,
to
the problem
keep down some
it sounds
whiskey.
like you're not drinking enough of it, Drew. That's the problem. When you black out, you don't have to worry
Wow.
about it. All right, man. So, show us that bottle again, man. Do you have a price point on that?
I do not have a price point, but it's Myers, Myers Distillery
Lift it up
over
just a
on,
little bit. There
yeah,
you go, right
Myers
there.
Distillery. They're over on the west side of Cuga Lake. Great family run distillery, small batch, and it's been very, very, very tasty. So, yeah.
All right, well, good deal. Same thing again on the Knob Creek Smoke Maker for me. Now, Hound Dog calls it a cavity in a bottle. He says it's way too sweet for him. But and I really like it after a big meal because it's almost like a dessert drink. And if I have I don't smoke cigars much, but when I do, I try to pair my bourbon. If I'm having a Fat Bottom Betty, which is a sweet cigar, I'll drink something along the Buffalo Trace or regular Knob Creek to offset that sweetness. But if it's a regular cigar, man, I like pairing it with the Knob Creek Smoked Maple because it does add some sweetness back in.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, man, last shout outs, man. Anybody you want to give thanks to or just shout out all together and say hey to, the mic is yours.
Well, thank you so much for the Bourbons and Badges family in order to have me on tonight, on this special episode as well, too. And a shout out to my team in New York, Auburn, because you guys are making it, rocking it here and helping us out and stuff. And also, shout out to the Sleep in Heavenly Peace, the executive team, especially, leadership of Luke Mickelson and Jordan Allen and the board to be able to, allow us to be able to get kids beds as well, too. So very much appreciated. And thank you so very much.
Yes, sir. And September the 9th, not the 29th, September the 9th is the big build day, National Build Day. Well, good deal, man. I'd like to have you back, Drew, when Hound Dog and Rodnator can be with us. Would you come back and see us again
absolutely.
sometime?
Yeah, just you got my number, Slow. Just text me a number, and a time, and I can jump in here and into the studio. So
we'll definitely make it happen. All right, I'd like to give special thanks as well, of course, to Sleep in Heavenly Peace and Drew, the co-president and the spokesman tonight, man. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Like I said, I never knew it existed till I knew you existed. Also, special thanks to our partners at Black Rival Training Group, Law Enforcement Today at lawenforcementtoday.com, and Boone's Bourbon. Drew, if you get a chance, tell all your friends up there to drink Boone's Bourbon. Can you get that up there in New York? Have you seen it? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I can look for it. I'll see what I can do.
Big partners ours,
Boone's Bourbon.
and Boone's Bourbon. Man, you guys are good men doing good things, Drew. We need more people like you out there.
Thanks,
Slow. Hey, and like you guys, man, we have a donation button. If you like, you can hit that donation button. Appreciate it, you supporting the show. And I'll go out there on a limb say, if you're going to support one or the other, go to Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Support them first, man, because they're doing great things. Now, Hound Dog, Rodnator, and I, we're just a bunch of drunks playing on the radio. This has been a Studio 77 production. Like Hound Dog always says, let's drink about it. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Slow.